A witness during a committee hearing on supposed left-wing violence gave the most appropriate response to Marjorie Taylor Greene.
You think this is funny? Miss Spitalnick, is this funny to you? Is babies being murdered in the womb funny to you? Because you're smirking and laughing at me right now.
What's not funny are the Black people and Hispanic people and Jewish people and Muslim people who have been murdered in synagogue, in church, in supermarkets, in mosques by white supremacists.
Is this funny to you? Is this funny? Yes, it is, Lauren. I'm sorry. Yes, it is, Marjorie, because you're a clown. That's what, it's funny. It is funny. That entire hearing was nothing more than a clown show. The woman who, by the way, laughed at Marjorie Greene is Executive Director of Integrity First for America, Amy Spitalnick. Now, she is an expert on political violence, unlike Marjorie Greene, who isn't an expert on anything. In fact, well, you know what? That's not fair. She is an expert on something. She is an expert in false equivocation. And I'm about to give you an example of that.
As we were being gavelled in, we experienced some left-wing extremism of our own on the second floor of this building while we've been in here. The Center for Popular Democracy invaded our office building this afternoon to push their extreme agenda on everything from climate to the debt ceiling. Approximately a dozen were arrested while we were sitting in this hearing room. Thankfully, my staff brought over pictures to share with you all. This happened right here in the rotunda of the Cannon building while we were sitting here in this hearing, having this hearing on left-wing extremism. I mean, you kind of can't even make this up. But George Soros funded it. It's the Open Society that funds this group.
Oh, turns out you actually can make things up. Not about the protest. There was a protest, actually, and I'm going to get into more details about that. And by the way, there were people that were arrested. And so, oh, look at that. She actually presented something factual, sort of. But all the stuff about George Soros, come on.
Jewish space lasers.
Left-wing extremist violence. All that stuff's made up. Not real. Now, this protest that had happened during this committee hearing was not violent. Well, then why were they arrested? Well, the reason they were arrested is that they were protesting on Capitol grounds. In fact, I have the exact code that the police, that the DC police used to cite them. Now, first, before we get to that, we have an unidentified spokesman for the Capitol Police saying, quote, multiple warnings, which are standard practice for demonstrations, were given to a group of people demonstrating inside of the Cannon Rotunda. They were protesting on Capitol grounds. That's about it. We had 12 arrests, 10 women, and 2 men for 22-1307, demonstrating inside of a congressional building. So now, the things that applied to this one, for DC Criminal Code 22-1307, is crowding, obstructing, or incommoding. Subsection B, which relies to this, which relates to this, says it is unlawful for a person alone or in concert with others to engage in a demonstration in an area where it is otherwise unlawful to demonstrate, and to continue or resume engaging in a demonstration after being instructed by a law enforcement officer to cease engaging in a demonstration. So they were protesting. Cops said, hey, cut it out, take it outside. And they're like, no, we're not going to do that. Now, demonstrating. What's demonstrating? For the purpose of the subsection, and this is subsection 2, the term demonstration means marching, congregating, standing, sitting, lying down, parading, demonstrating, or patrolling by one or more persons, with or without signs, for the purpose of persuading one or more individuals or the public, or to protest some action, attitude, or belief. Where's the violence? Where's the extremist leftist violence here? No, that's civil disobedience. That's what that is. Nonviolent resistance, nonviolent protest. No assault, no violence. What's the issue? But Marjorie Greene, she compared it to violent extremism. Violent right-wing extremism, by the way. It's a total false equivalence. There is no left-wing extremism in this country that compares at all to white supremacist violence. There's no comparison here. None at all. But she goes on to use a talking point of abortion helping white supremacy. Now, since she is a dumb person, I have to explain this very simply, okay? Abortion is a choice. So it's not white supremacy when a black person or a Latin person decides to get an abortion. Now, if they were forced to do so, for example, if white people were forcing black or Latin women to get abortions, or forcing them to be sterilized, as we have had stories about, by the way, prisons in certain southern states that were forcibly sterilizing black women, again, against their will, and there were also immigrant Latin women who were forcibly done, sterilized and had medical experiments done on them by our Border Patrol officers. That would be examples of white supremacy. Situations where this has happened, the forcible, not abortion, but sterilization of indigenous women. That's white supremacy. But allowing black and Latin women, in order to choose to have bodily autonomy, that is not the same thing. If you say so, if you're making that argument, you're disingenuous. 100%. It's a ridiculous argument, is what it is. Forced sterilization is happening in the United States today, and it hasn't gone away. Yes, it's happening in the prison systems. Now, she also equivocates what happened with Riley Gaines. So now Riley Gaines is against trans people. She came to speak to that forum, that hearing on left-wing extremism, because she was not allowed to talk at a campus, basically. Pushed out of her room on a college campus, bullied. You know what? Marjorie Greene called that, quote-unquote, trans terrorism. And then ascribed a political motive where we don't know, by the way, to the Tennessee shooter. We don't know the motive. We don't know why they engaged in that shooting. He, in this case, because he identifies as a male, transgender. There's no manifesto like the right wing claims that there is. Oh, there would not release the manifesto, trans terrorism. By the way, if this turns out to be political, if there is a political motive to the Tennessee shooting, the fact would still remain that the right wing men do the most active terrorism in this country. It's not even close. The vast majority is carried out by, at this point, white, right-wing, cisgendered men. A fact that Ms. Spitalnick readily points out.
The statistics tell us that when it comes to politically motivated violence, in 2022, every single murder was committed by a right-wing extremist.
Every single murder in America was committed by a right-wing extremist?
Every single politically motivated murder was committed by a right-wing extremist.
Are you sure about that?
I am.
Are you aware that the Tennessee shooter just recently identified as a man and she was a biological woman? Was she a right-wing extremist as well?
Young lady's time has expired. I'll allow the witness to answer the question.
So that was a shooting that happened in 2023. There is no evidence as to what ideology motivated that shooting. And what we do know is that cisgender males are responsible for the vast majority of mass shootings in this country.
I'm sorry, I don't know what a cisgender male is. There's only two genders. It's male and female. That would be, so no one knows what a cisgender male is. It's a
Unfortunately-
made up
Unfortunately,
idea.
the
lady from-
anti-trans
from
invasion
Georgia-
like
Dumbest person alive. Jesus. Oh, yeah. I don't know what I don't know what a cisgender male is. That doesn't exist. Now, just because you don't know what it is, and you do know what it is, by the way, just because you don't know what it is doesn't mean it's not real. God. Stupid. No, you idiot. Okay. Jesus. And then, by the way, every politically motivated murder, or every murder in the United States is done by a right winger. No, not every murder. She said in 2022, every politically motivated murder was enacted by a white right winger. Look, the thing that's frustrating here is in a normal world, somebody like Marjorie Greene wouldn't be like anywhere near power, anywhere near having this office. But in today's messed up world, messed up politics, she is considered to be a right-wing genius. I'm not kidding. I wish I was. I wish I was. But apparently, no. Darling of the right wing. She has power. She has power. And by the way, you saw that during the clips that I showed you. She revels. She bathes in her ignorance and only pushes her own extreme agenda while calling on everyone else extreme. It's projection to the max. I mean, what other reaction, getting back to Spitalnick here and laughing, is what other reaction can you have to someone like this when you hear this kind of just ignorant nonsense other than to laugh? I mean, the only thing I can think of is either be so incredibly depressed that you're here, that you're in this room, that you're listening to someone say the most ignorant crap, and knowing that she has a lot of power and a lot of influence over other human beings' lives and is actively using that power to harm others.